exploring some anchorages near Guaymas, we headed north to San Carlos to the popular anchorage Bahia San Pedro. We found other boats there, and not wanting to anchor too close, we ended up spending a rolly night in the southerly weather. Utilizing Jerry Cunningham's cruising guide to San Carlos, we popped around Punta San Pedro and found better protection from the southerly weather. You can also find Jerry Cunningham's Sonoran Coast anchorage information included in the 2015 edition of Charlie's Charts, along with waypoints. The anchorage was initially comfortable, but over the ensuing 2 days, the strength of the wind picked up and La Brisa began to sail back and forth on her anchor, I think due to the extra windage of the solar panels. Of the two of us, I am the worrywart. I worried about the anchor holding. I worried the nylon snubbers would chafe through. I worried the wind would increase. I was very uncomfortable and stressed out. There was no cell signal for downloading weather, and on the third day it was reassuring to finally get AmigoNet on the SSB and hear the voice of our friend Tony from Dolce give a weather report indicating the wind would not increase, but the following day it would become more southwesterly. As the wind became more westerly, it was time for us to abandon the anchorage, as the waves began to refract around the point, and we headed north to Las Cocinas, which, according to the guide, would be calm in south and southwesterly weather. On our way, we experienced the infamous Sea of Cortez chop. Las Cocinas was indeed much calmer, and it was a relief to put the hook down in the clear azure water. Las Cocinas, which means the kitchens, is a series of coves and indentations on the coastline. Most of the inlets are too small and narrow for anchoring. However, there is one of the southern cocinas that would possibly work as an anchorage, especially if we had a smaller boat. However, we anchored at the northernmost cocina, and it was our favorite place of the whole trip. On the third day, we reluctantly left Las Cocinas because the wind would be changing to the north during the night. We turned south, looking for an anchorage that would provide shelter from the north. We were on the verge of turning into a possible anchorage when I noticed I could no longer hear the wet exhaust. We shut down the engine, and Lee went over the side to make sure the raw water intake was unobstructed. Nothing was blocking it. We started removing items in the lazarette, and Lee crawled in to check the raw water strainer. Nothing. Next, Lee checked the engine and discovered the exhaust manifold flange elbow had rusted through, and it had pumped water into the bilge and, of course, exhaust into the engine compartment. While Lee was working on this problem, I attempted to unfurl the Genoa, only to find the furler was jammed. I raised the staysail to give us sea room, and Lee used rescue tape to tape together the two ends of the elbow. We had a bad hoist with the reacher, and were not able to douse it with the sock. Not wanting to get caught in stronger winds, we took the reacher down, and with pulled out staysail and the main, we began our overnight sail back to Guaymas in the light winds. We crawled along, and when we finally made Guaymas Harbor almost 24 hours later, we turned on the engine for 15 minutes to get us into a slip at Furniture. We were amazed and impressed the rescue tape held, and Lee even had difficulty removing it. Needless to say, we will always keep it on hand. We now have a stainless steel exhaust elbow and flange in our exhaust system, and consider ourselves lucky that when it did happen, we did not have to sail from a remote anchorage on the Baja side, because a strong norther hit just as we were entering Guaymas Harbor. I recently overheard a neighbor on the dock ask Lee how long we would be gone next time, and Lee replied, "Until we have too many broken things to fix out on the water." We are finding there is always lots of boat maintenance that goes on even in remote anchorages. We had hoped to be on the Baja side by now, but soon we will cross, and as always, we'll bring you up to date. So until then,